Now, Kobe, given her struggle in stock car racing, was this the right time for Deegan to make that switch to Indy next? And do you agree with her decision for her to enter to Formula Regional America race at Circuits of the Americas?
Well, Joe, this is definitely an interesting decision for Hailie Deegan, and for starters, I want to say that she's 23 years old right now, so there's still plenty of time for her to carve out a career somewhere. And yeah, when she was doing her NASCAR program, she had quite a number of struggles, and she obviously didn't live up to what everyone expected to see from her. So and she lost a ride obviously earlier this year in the Xfinity Series with AM Racing. Many people wonder what's Hailie Deegan gonna do next, and now we found that out. She's going to try to get on the road to Indy, and maybe we'll see if she can try to go to the NTT IndyCar Series. And I do want to say, when you look at the Hailie Deegan situation, that maybe stock car racing, wasn't her strength as a driver. Maybe she can go to open wheel racing, and this might be a little bit easier for her. Maybe this will suit her skill set as a driver. But I definitely think it's going to be a massive adjustment for her, because stock car racing, open wheel racing, day and night difference. There's going to be a lot of things that she learned in stock car racing that she's going to have to unlearn in open wheel racing. So it's definitely going to be a massive challenge for her. It kind of like, when we saw Jamie Chadwick come over. Obviously Jamie Chadwick, she had an open wheel racing experience before she came to Indy NXT, unlike Hailie Deegan, who doesn't have any open wheel racing experience. I think we're gonna have to give Hailie some time to get up to speed in these cars and see what she's able to do. Like we saw Jamie Chadwick in year 2 in Indy NXT, she was light years better than what she was in her rookie year in this series. And just like Chadwick, I think Deegan's gonna need time in this series to see what she's made of. And it's good to hear from the team principal, Mike Marini, saying that Deegan is taking this very seriously, because when you change disciplines like this, especially a discipline that's very different compared to stock cars, you're definitely going to need to be super serious about it. Yeah, moving to the Indianapolis area help. Just like when you want to be in NASCAR, moving to the Charlotte area is very helpful. And that she's already been at the shop. She's going to run the test on Friday, and Jamie Chadwick is not on that entry list. Just throwing it out there, which is very interesting as rumors continue to swirl about her future, if she'll return for another year of Indy next, or potentially move up to the NTT IndyCar Series. Yeah, so we'll definitely have to continue watching Jamie Chadwick's situation there. I thought it was very interesting that she's not on the Indy next entry list for the test coming up on Friday. But getting back to Hailie Deegan, I think it's very smart for H&B Motorsports to have her run this Formula Regional Americas race. I know it's not the Indy next series, but it's open wheel in a car that's similar to what she's gonna be racing in Indy next. So I think getting that open wheel racing experience at the end of this year is going to be very crucial in her development as she starts this new career path. So definitely going to be watching Hailie Deegan this Friday, and at the end of the month when she races at Coda, and all next year as she starts to get up to speed on the road to Indy. You're really looking forward to seeing what she's able to do here.
Yeah, a lot of pros and cons, I feel like, in this story. Big pro that she's with like one of the big teams. I know there is really only 2 big teams in Indy next to HMD and, of course, Andretti. But she's got a prime ride there with a good team that know how to win races. It will take her plenty of time. There's been a lot of tracks on the schedule that she's never even been to, let alone driven around. So that's going to be big. Obviously, Joe, you mentioned St. Pete at the beginning of the year. I would hazard a guess that Hailie Deegan has never run a street track in her life, outside of the simulator, of course, apart from maybe Chicago last year. I have to rack my brain on that one. But in an open wheel, obviously it's going to be hugely different to what she's used to, as you say, Kobe. She's going to do that Formula Regional Americas race. That's a good start. It'll be interesting to see what other extracurricular activities, perhaps, let's say, she'll do throughout the off season, because Indy next testing will be limited. But what other cars can she get in and just drive around wherever racetracks that she can get to, just to keep up to speed and progressing and such like. I will have to admit that I do not expect to see much from her in her first season. As I mentioned, completely new series, new car, all these new tracks. It's going to take some time. Hopefully the team give her the time to get her feet wet, as it were, and get settled in over this first year. And hopefully she can just get to the end of races. What we don't want to see her doing is, as we see with drivers from time to time, getting caught up in their own accidents or other people's, have mechanicals or something like that, and they don't get the laps in even if they're running about, round 5 or 6 seconds off the pace at the back of the field. It's all the reps that you get from doing that. So it'll be interesting to see how she goes, and if Jamie Chadwick comes back next year and does even a partial Indy Next schedule. We're still, as you mentioned, Kobe, up in the air about what Jamie is perhaps going to be doing in 2025. There's going to be that, two big female comparisons in the series, and it'll give Hailie a target, I guess, as well to go after in Jamie as the prime female runner in the series. So I don't think she's going to do particularly well. We'll have to wait and see, but there's lots and lots to learn, and hopefully she's given the time to do that.
It's going to be one of those deals where I think a lot of people will be looking at comparing her to Jamie Chadwick. Another driver I'm almost thinking comparing her to from 2022, 2023, Ernie Francis Jr. If you remember, Trans Am background, then he did a Tony Stewart's dirt track racing, the SRX experience. Next, he goes to Indy Light. He had, for the most part, top 10 finishes, but in a series where you're trying to get wins, move up the ladder, I believe his best finish was third place. He has at least one podium recall of in Indy Next. I think that's one driver I'll be almost looking at how Hailie Deegan's doing with her first year and second year at Indy Next. Overall, this is one of those fields where everybody's trying to get to that next level. The road to Indy ladder system, the scholarship available, the potential of a seat at the NTT IndyCar Series. A lot allowing her, and I'm really curious just to see how she's going to make this transition work, because overall, I think a lot of eyes are going to be brought over her at Circuits of the Americas. That's just going to get more people just watching, seeing what she's doing, and it will be interesting because in a stock car, especially what she's used to in a truck series and Xfinity series, you can set up the car as much as you want, but it's still going to be slipping and sliding, loose, tight, battling that car. Now you're going to be working on a vehicle. You can fine tune it much more for the maximum amount of grip and handling. Still going to be a little bit of a handful. One of the big things, the power these Indy Next cars has, going to be very interesting to see how she could handle everything with that. Now let's check out some of the comments in the chat room. John asks, will her races be on Fox? Kobe, I know there's a deal with IndyCar. All the races are on Fox, but when it comes to Indy Next, what is the plan for Indy Next?
Oh yeah, the Indy Next races are gonna be on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2, just like you're gonna be able to watch the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and the Arkham Menard Series on those channels as well. So all of the Indy Next races will be on the Fox family of networks, but it's gonna be on FS1 and FS2. As of right now, there's not scheduled to be any of those races Big Fox. But Joe, I wanted to bounce off a point before we go into the next comment. I wanted to bring up what you just said about Ernie Francis Jr. I think that's an excellent comparison because Ernie Francis Jr. Comes from a similar style of racing. With the Trans Am stuff, those big heavy cars that slide around. Yeah. So, but we saw Ernie Francis Jr. He got 2 years, in Indy Next competition, and he wasn't able to, do as well as we thought he was gonna do. And now, Ernie Francis Jr. He was out of Indy Next, and it doesn't, his open wheel racing career seems to be over now. Now Roger Penske saw him competing in SRX and thought he had potential, to potentially go to the IndyCar Series. And Ernie's a really good driver. He's won many championships in Trans Am, so we know he knows how to wheel a car. But sometimes, you go to a different discipline, your talent doesn't always translate over, as we've seen sometimes with open wheel drivers who try to go over to NASCAR, and then we saw like Jimmy Johnson go over to IndyCar and saw him struggle a lot because it's just so different. That's the point I was making about Hailie Deegan. Maybe she'll run a lot better in open wheel racing because maybe her skill set is better tailored to these open wheel cars than it is a stock car. But yeah, I think we could potentially see some struggles like we saw with Ernie Francis Jr. because it is a big difference. But who knows? Maybe she could surprise us and run better than we expect. As I see Adam Limmeries here says he thinks Hailie Deegan is going to struggle in Indy Next because it's very competitive with strong talent. Totally agree with you there, Adam. I think it's going to be quite a struggle, especially in year one, and we'll see how she progresses throughout the year, and if she gets a second or even a third year, see how she's able to do after that. And before we move on, Joe, Matt, I wanted to get you guys' opinion. I know I brought it up in our private grid chat about Jamie Chadwick not being on the entry list and all of that. And then one of our team members wondered if she's not on the entry list because she may have obligation with Sky Sports this weekend at Circuit of Americas for the Formula One United States Grand Prix. But do you guys think it's telling that she's not on the entry list? Because I know she tested the Andretti IndyCar at Barber and it went extremely well. And Jamie was very excited, really loved the feeling of the IndyCar. And I know over the last few months or so among our grid team, we've been talking about this story quite a bit with Jamie Chadwick, wondering like, what is she gonna do? Should she get another year of Indy NXT? Because if she goes to Indy NXT, she's probably progressed enough where she could be one of the main protagonists to go out there and win the championship. Or does she go up to IndyCar in some way or form? So just wanted to see what you guys thought about Jamie not being on the entry list, and could this signal that she's potentially going to IndyCar next year? I'll let you go first, Joe, then Matt.
Yeah, that's really something I'm going to be focusing on is where is she this weekend? Is she in Circus America with Sky Sports? That might say something. But then, of course, I think this is sort of a really tricky situation. If you're Jamie Chadwick, you go to Indy NXT for our third season, you're expected to be one of the championship favorites. What if you don't get that championship? How does that impact your opportunity to go into IndyCar? I've said long ago, I'm curious if she'll do a part-time schedule, potentially the Indy 500 and another unready built car, maybe a race here or there too, and maybe Indy NXT could be a potential. But it is a difficult situation to try to make that decision because you go in IndyCar, you're going to be a rookie. You're not expected to win a race right away, but you do have to perform. Just because you're a rookie doesn't mean you're automatically guaranteed a second season. If you go to Indy NXT and you're the championship favorite and you don't deliver, people are going to wonder, are you really ready for that next level?
I don't know what the Sky lineup is for COTA this weekend, so I can't confirm or deny on what she might or might not be doing on the television this week. You're right. If she comes back next year, she will be, surely has to be one of the favourites for the championship. But what I will say is, I don't know what the Indy NXT testing budgets for teams are. Testing's expensive. And if she's trying to find her way into an IndyCar, is she saving her cash to put into that program rather than having a day's testing in a next car, which she perhaps doesn't need going into next year? That's one possible theory. But as you say, we'll keep a track and abreast of this over the winter, and hopefully it's. If she turns up at the 500, even if it's just the 500, Joe, and does the 500 next year as a one-off, that'll be great. But I think, as you say, if she comes back into Indy NXT next year, she's got to be one of the title favourites in one of the championship's best cars. And as I think I said a couple of weeks ago on the show, Indy NXT is becoming. A couple of years ago, it was almost dead, and now it's stacked with talent coming from all over the place. So people like Kyle Collette coming from Formula 3 this year and having a go in it didn't go particularly well, but again, he was another man learning circuits and learning the car and things. So in his first year, so it's coming that pathway. And if you look at couple of people, I can't find a name off the top of my head, but people that we expected to do well in something like Formula 2, and it got to a third season and they still hadn't won the championship or been winning races, it kind of fades away a little bit, back to your Ernie Francis point from before. So you need to be in a couple of season and a half of learning, and then you're winning races. And we saw that from Jamie this year. So hopefully if she does come back for a full season tilt, then she'll certainly be one of the favourites for it.